the...
What was that? What's going on? Who are you?
Get out of my way.
Leave him to me.
No!
I thought you said they'd put up a fight. I'm barely breaking a sweat.
Don't be so arrogant.
Who the hell is that? Get him now! Yang! How dare you set foot in here again? You should never have come back.
Nice to see you. It's been a while.
Get him! Oh, man!
Where is he?
Stop.
Yang, of course.
You've gotten slow, Sifu. You know why I'm here, don't you? Just step aside.
You were a mistake. I should never have taught you. Now you know too much. By returning here tonight, you've given me a second chance. This time, I will do what I must. When I look into your eyes, I see nothing but a frightened, angry child.
Show yourself.
Bring it on.
Ah!
blocked the entrance to the warehouse. Need to find another way inside.
Get lost. Nothing here for you. I warned you, asshole.
Not so tough after all. You! Stay there! Hey, you!
Junkies. I don't think they'll be a problem. I can make it. Just need to run at it.
Hey, how'd you get in here?
I pity you.
No freaking way!
Open it! Open up! Don't make me bust this damn door down! Check this fucking clown out! Help you with something?
The warehouse. Which way?
Fuck you want? You do know where you are, right?
I'm looking for Fajar.
Nobody wants to see the freak, and the freak don't want to see nobody. Now, empty the... Drop your weapon! Whoa!
Holy shit!
Ed in the hospital, died from injuries from the nasty critters. So I started digging a tomb and Steve was buried. First casualty on Pull Gear, but far from the last. At this point, I noticed one of the injured recruits was still in the hospital, recovering and was thirsty. Clearly, Monker not taking care of him properly. Everyone knows dwarven beer is the best remedy, but it seemed we needed water. And with the river frozen, the first squad until the very end. First caravan arrived and we assigned Minkat as our broker to handle trade. I also assigned Monker as our first doctor to keep my dwarves patched up. The first trade brought in some much needed food and leather, and soon later 7 new migrants followed. Due to the new hungry mouths, I set the new hands together as much fruit outside as possible. Soon after, a stonecrafter went into a fey mood and eventually created a hematite mug, our first artifact that we promptly used for some heavy drinking in the tavern. Throughout the whole autumn, my blacksmiths were busy crafting iron armor and weapons for the first squad. In the late autumn, I assigned 4 dwarves to serve under Eteb. As a precaution, I also started building a wall on the surface around the entrance to serve as barracks for the militia. As winter arrived, tragedy struck. A hunter angered a group of Grey Langers, and our recruits had to kill a number of them. But our bookkeeper, Padona Steve, was found dead in the hospital, died from injuries from the nasty critters. So I started digging a tomb and Steve was buried. First casualty on Pull Gear, but far from the last. At this point, I noticed one of the injured recruits was still in the hospital, recovering and was thirsty. Clearly, Monker not taking care of him properly. Everyone knows dwarven beer is the best remedy, but it seemed we needed water, and with the river frozen for the winter, I had to start digging deep until we found caverns. Luckily, there was a body of water just below, so we built a well which left a hole right in the middle of my fortress, but at least the injured dwarf was saved. With spring thaw, the river was no longer frozen and fishing could resume to combine with the fruits we gathered in autumn. However, I was facing a new problem as badgers started attacking my animals, but luckily the floor fungus started to spread after breaking into the caves, so I built a new pasture next to the workshops inside and brought them in for safety. An elven caravan also arrived and it was my first time actually trading with the elves and not just robbing them as I usually do. And speaking of robbing people, did you know I have a Patreon page where you can support the channel? The link is down below. A loom was also built to take advantage of the silk we could now gather from the caverns, and one of our miners went into a fey mood and made a kern, which was promptly placed into our workshop and never used again. As summer arrived, I focused on expanding our fortress even more. I finally started digging for farming areas so we could grow our own plump helmets and become more self-sufficient. I also set up a temple, assigning no specific deity to worship for now, to give our dwarves a place for spiritual reflection in the harsh times to come. And those harsh times began innocently enough with the arrival of a performance group called the Pure Stakes, which I foolishly allowed to stay in our fortress to provide entertainment for my dwarves. Little did I know how that's gonna turn out. But at least for now, the future seemed bright, and we welcomed the first dwarven child born in Pull Gear, named Isaku. Autumn brought another dwarven caravan. We traded shell figurines and other small things we made for more instruments and most importantly, steel weapons. Basically, trash for treasure, the hobo way. Work also began on a dungeon, as I wanted to have a secure place to hold prisoners and protect Pull Gear. It turned out my timing was impeccable. For a while now, we had issues with Chaos interrupting my dwarves, so I set up an archer squad to fight them off. But Chaos were just a distraction. I found Deathlord's corpse in his bedroom, learned he had been drained of blood. Our legendary miner was dead, and this meant there was a vampire in Pull Gear. Instantly, I became suspicious of the Pure Stakes performance group, and Sheriff was assigned to interrogate all the poets, and the work on that dungeon became the main priority suddenly. As winter arrived, I was still dealing with the aftermath of the vampire in my fortress. Through interrogations, I learned that there had been some goblin espionage going on, which made me even more cautious. The traders were still hanging around as well, so I decided to destroy the trade depot in order to get rid of them. They finally left, and we were able to take all the stuff they left behind, which was pretty amazing, although we got most of our trash back. In late winter, disaster struck again. Minkat, another miner, was found drained of blood, adding to the whole vampire mystery. Frantically, I scheduled interrogations with everyone in the fortress to try and find the wild beast and keep my poor dwarf safe. But in reality, I was grasping at straws and had no idea how to actually catch him. As spring arrived, we were still on high alert for the vampire. Looking through all resident dwarves, I became suspicious of Autumn, the dwarven poet, but didn't really act on my suspicions. I wish I did. At this point, the trade depot was rebuilt and an elven caravan arrived, but being on edge from the secret vampire in our midst, I channeled my frustrations in an attack on them, killing them all and taking their goods, which prompted a big migrant wave with more than 20 dwarves arriving, so clearly I did something right. If you want to do something right as well, why don't you click that subscribe button down below? A lion was among the treasures we stole from the elves and promptly trained him for war. And to beef up our defenses even more, I created a new 5-man militia squad and finally started building the roof above the barracks to keep the chaos out. In late spring, it all went south. The vampire struck again and Zasik was found drained of blood. This was the last straw and I promptly sent every poet from the Pure Stakes into the caves. So first, I expelled Za, the human bard, and killed him, suspecting him as the vampire, but he wasn't the one. So with the safety of Polgear at the stake, I exiled the rest of the performance and fought them. The fight was so vicious, we actually lost our new war lion, but the vampire mystery still remained unsolved, with 6 poet corpses at our feet. Yeah, maybe I did overreact a little bit, but summer was quiet and the vampire did not strike. New migrants arrived and that prompted the Lazy Company, our crafters guild, to request a guild hall, so I started building it. To furnish the new guild hall, I queued some tetrahedrite for smelting, and soon we were making silver statues. Of course, all the poets had to be buried, so I had to excavate a series of new tombs. The population boost also meant we now had a mayor, and Winged Flames became the one to take the mantle. In late summer, I finally noticed that Autumn, one of the performers we killed, the dwarf that seemed suspicious to me, confessed to one of the vampire murderers. So, he was the vampire that I was looking for all this time. I was relieved, to say the least, to finally solve the mystery and keep my dwarves safe. The vampire was dead and gone. But this was not the last one we had to deal with over the years. In the early autumn, the roof above the barracks was finally completed, and I began building a drawbridge to further protect our fortress. A warring caravan arrived and we traded more trash for instruments, steel weapons, leather, and meat. But of course, peace could not last, and a were raccoon appeared in our fortress. Unfortunately, a fisherman was killed and some other dwarves rushed the were raccoon like the smart bastards they were, before the militia squads could reach it. So, it killed a blacksmith and a visitor as well before we were able to finally slay it. Luckily, no one was bitten and infected. Winter brought a small group of goblin snatchers at our doorstep, and we had to chase them away to protect the fortress. A bone carver went into a fey mood soon after and created a bone ring worth around 7,000, which was the most valuable artifact so far. We also started extending the tavern and building a throne room for the mayor. With Tavern's expansion, I added some instruments to the place to improve the cultural life of my dwarves. Just as I thought things were looking up, a human maceman was spotted sneaking around our fortress, and learning that he belonged to an enemy faction called Flag of Rains, we had to kill him. Soon after, a dwarf mercenary Bomrek asked to join us, and I added him to the first militia squad. Every able-bodied soldier dwarf was welcome after the trouble we'd been through, and Bomrek proved a valuable fighter in the years to come. In early spring, I assigned Empty Pockets Jack as the tavern keeper in charge of getting everyone as drunk as possible. An honorable position in any dwarf fortress. Another elven caravan arrived, and I would love to know what they thought when they saw the corpses of their previous caravan, but we attacked and killed them before I could ask them.
Are we the baddies?
Soon after, Likot, the armorer, went to a fey mood and created an iron helmet worth 6,000, which I was very excited about, but completely forgot to actually assign it to any of my fighting dwarves. 21 migrants also arrived, and with that, a metalworking guild was established, and I promptly went to build them a guild hall. With the increased number, I had many jobless dwarves, so I bolstered my fledgling militia squad with 8 more fighting dwarves. That meant a bunch of our livestock had to be butchered to create leather armor, and higher demand for weapons also prompted me to build more metalsmith workshops and smelters. Summer brought more goblin thieves, and Winged Flames the mayor got to test his new warhammer on their skulls. During this time, chaos were attacking our fortress, and a visiting human necromancer fought him and raised bones of our recently butchered livestock. We chased him away, but had to fight the undead bones he raised. It was an absolute mess with the whole butcher shop coming alive, but in the end, my dwarves were victorious. In the new barracks we dug out above the caves, I started building an archery range, and soon 11 more migrants arrived, bringing our population to over 100. Summer ended with another human maceman of Flag of Rains being spotted sneaking around, and Winged Flames the mayor put his warhammer to good use again. Autumn brought another dwarven caravan to our gates, and we traded for steel and leather. We also gave them a gift of 1,000 in shell jewelry, just to establish we're not in fact the baddies. To protect Polgear even more, I set up cage traps at the entrance, and had to build lots of new bedrooms to accommodate the growing population. Unfortunately, an artifact was seen being stolen at the tavern, and Vost, a human lord consort visiting us, was the one who took it. The captain of the guard beat him up into a pulp and took the item back. Hero was assigned as a dungeon master, and Stag was assigned as hammerer to help deal with crime in the fortress. As autumn turned to winter, a wild force of darkness arrived, and we captured 2 goblin thieves and 1 crossbowman, killing the rest of them in a bloody battle. While that was happening, Godin, a dwarf baron consort visiting us, went on a brawling spree. Stag, our new hammerer, promptly beat him up real bad as a punishment. During this time, Eden the Trapper was found dead, drained of blood, indicating that a new vampire was here, which meant new interrogations, but in the end, those came to nothing. Polgir was becoming a McDonald's for vampires, it seemed. So, I decided to build a trap dungeon for captured enemies. We started bringing the captured goblins to the new dungeon, and 2 thieves died in the traps, but a goblin crossbowman killed a child who brought him in. I don't know who decided that children were ideal workforce to deal with imprisoned goblins, but it certainly wasn't me. We mourned the child, and in his memory, I filled the 3 militia squads fully to 30 fighting dwarves. Perfect timing, because soon after a Cyclops arrived, but he fell to Lloyd the Wrestler, and we were able to reclaim an artifact crossbow worth 12,000. Zethutha, the Forgotten Beast, also arrived and was attacked by our dogs. Lloyd the Wrestler killed that one as well, and he probably would have killed the goblin that turned into a were-giraffe at our doorstep as well, but the monster actually ran away. Good job, Lloyd. Surprisingly, spring was peaceful. I started digging for a large temple complex where I eventually built 3 proper temples dedicated to the gods worshipped by my dwarves. Soon, 22 new migrants arrived, meaning that the Hall of Headers, a farmers' guild, was established, and we started building a hall for them as well. In late spring, a weaponsmith went into a fey mood and created a pig iron mace worth 6,000, which was a decent addition to our armory. With the arrival of summer, I got a notification that the goblin pits of Hadrax were conquered. A town with population of over 100 souls was now economically linked to Polgir, a great advancement for our civilization. A wild force of darkness arrived soon after in retaliation, and they encountered a visiting demon called Obok, and promptly killed him. I have no idea where the demon came from, but he was friendly, so we had to avenge him. In a bloody battle, my dwarves were eventually victorious. Summer was also the beginning of a short alcohol crisis in Polgir. We had less than 100 drinks in storage, and with our bustling inn and growing population, I knew this to be a big problem. To solve the crisis, I assigned a bunch of new brewers and built multiple new stills. A craft dwarf named Ezum went into a fey mood and he created Milol Akath, a sheep wool coat worth 17,000. That simple coat remained the most valuable artifact Polgir created for the remainder of our 10-year journey. And a word must have come out because soon a were-capybara named Cole came, but Bomrek, the dwarven mercenary, killed it with one stab of a short sword. As autumn arrived, I was still dealing with the alcohol crisis, something that occupied the mind of every dwarf in the fortress. Soon the first incident happened because the dwarves were too sober. When digging the moat in the caverns, the roof collapsed and Shogun, the legendary miner, got seriously injured. Bringing him to the hospital reminded me we never made any soap, so I started up that whole process. The moat was successfully completed soon after, and we started building a drawbridge across it. Feeling a bit more secure from attacks from below now, we started digging deeper in the caverns, and soon after discovered a magma pool. By late autumn, the alcohol crisis was finally stabilized with over 400 drinks in the storage, and that brought 7 new migrants, bringing our population over 150, which meant Polgir was now officially an alcohol metropolis. Winter brought a new wild force of darkness, but we were able to kill them all. The river was frozen, so I had Winter brought a new wild force of darkness, but we were able to kill them. The river was frozen, so I had...
What happened? Oh, damn. Agony.
Winter brought a new wild force of darkness.
Yeah, I'm on my main character in Ascension WoW right now. In fact, I'm